Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, was blanketed in silence that December day in 1992, an ordinary winter morning, the kind where the world seems to pause beneath a layer of fresh snow. But that peaceful stillness was shattered when tragedy struck, forever changing the town's sense of safety. A young teacher, Christy Mirek, was found murdered in her home, sending shockwaves through the community and leaving neighbors in disbelief. For nearly 30 years, her killer remained a mystery, a shadow haunting Lancaster, casting a long, cold fear over the town. Yet the answer had always been there, a trace of DNA, preserved by the cold, waiting for science to catch up, quietly holding the truth in its microscopic code. Christy was just 25, beloved by her students and friends. She was known for her kindness, her laughter echoing in the halls, and her dedication to her classroom. The brutality of her murder left the town fearful and suspicious, turning a safe community into one of locked doors and whispered worries. Parents clutched their children a little tighter, and neighbors eyed each other with uncertainty. Detectives scoured the scene, collecting every scrap of evidence, fingerprints, fibers, and crucially, biological material. They worked tirelessly, determined to find answers. In 1992, DNA analysis was in its infancy, but investigators preserved what they found, hoping for a future breakthrough that might finally bring justice. The investigation was exhaustive, but every lead fizzled out. Each new clue seemed to dissolve into the winter air. The killer vanished, leaving only grief and a growing case file. Christie's family and friends were left with heartbreak and unanswered questions. As seasons changed, the pain lingered, and the most important question, who did this, remained unanswered. The community's hope faded with each passing year. The snow melted, but the coldness of the case endured. The memory of that day never truly left. Christie's story became a local legend, a chilling reminder that some mysteries refuse to fade. Her name was spoken in hushed tones, her photo a fixture in news clippings and vigils. The evidence waited in silence, a secret in the snow, until the day science would finally speak for her. In the darkness, hope quietly persisted. For years the community lived with unease, the wound never healing. The tragedy became part of the town's identity, a scar beneath the surface. The hope for justice seemed to slip further away with each passing winter, as memories faded but the pain remained. But the story was far from over. In the quiet beneath the snow, the truth was waiting to be revealed. Christy Mirek was a beacon in her community, known for her infectious smile and boundless energy. As a sixth-grade teacher, she was adored by her students, who looked up to her as both a mentor and a friend. On December 21, 1992, Christy was preparing for what should have been a normal school day, carefully wrapping gifts for her class as part of her holiday tradition. But when she didn't arrive at school that morning, her absence was immediately alarming to her principal, who knew Christy was never late. Driven by concern, he went to her apartment, found the door unlocked, and stumbled upon a scene that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Christy had been violently attacked in her own home, her life cut tragically short just days before Christmas. The police launched a massive investigation, combing through evidence and interviewing neighbors, but answers were scarce and leads quickly dried up. The news devastated the town. How could something so horrific happen to someone so loved, in a place that felt so safe? Christy's family was plunged into unimaginable grief, left with only questions and heartbreak that would never fully heal. Her students lost a cherished teacher who inspired them every day, her colleagues lost a dear friend and confidant, and her family lost a beloved daughter whose future was full of promise. The community felt the loss deeply. The sense of safety that once defined their town was suddenly shattered. The search for her killer became a mission for justice, not just for Christy, but for everyone who cared about her, and for the town itself. The case united the town in sorrow and determination as neighbors leaned on each other for support. Each year the pain resurfaced, and the promise to find her killer remained unfulfilled, a wound that never truly closed. Christy's memory lingered, fueling the resolve to seek answers and keep her spirit alive. The investigation pressed on, with detectives refusing to give up, but the truth stayed just out of reach. The town would not forget her, holding on to hope that one day justice would finally be served. Christy Mirek's murder became Lancaster's greatest mystery. Detectives interviewed hundreds, chasing every lead, but the killer seemed to vanish without a trace. No clear motive emerged. Christy had no enemies, and the crime appeared random. The randomness terrified the community and stymied investigators. They had DNA evidence, but in the early 90s it was nearly useless without a suspect to compare it to. The DNA sat in storage, a silent witness, as years passed. The case grew cold, detectives retired, and new ones inherited the unsolved file. The town tried to move on, but the story lingered, a ghostly reminder of unfinished business. For Christie's family, the lack of answers was a daily torment. The question of who and why hung over Lancaster like a fog. The case became a cautionary tale, a chilling legend. Technology was advancing, but the breakthrough remained elusive. The community's hope faded, but the need for justice never did. The DNA was a key with no door, until science caught up. The mystery endured, waiting for its moment. As years slipped by, Christie's case faded from headlines but never from memory. The file moved from desk to shelf, then to the cold case unit. Her family endured endless anniversaries, trapped in grief and uncertainty. Detectives occasionally revisited the case, hoping for a missed clue or a new lead. In the early 2000s, they submitted the DNA to the national database. No match. The killer's DNA wasn't in the system, hope dimmed. Time was both enemy and ally, memories faded, but loyalties shifted. Detectives believed someone, somewhere knew something. The phone never rang and the silence grew heavier. The story became part of Lancaster's history, a somber warning. New residents learned of the teacher lost before Christmas. The unresolved case unsettled the entire community. The idea that the killer might still be among them was chilling. The years passed, but the need for answers never faded. By 2017, a new team of detectives took up Christie's case, determined to solve what had haunted Lancaster for decades. Armed with advanced forensic tools, they re-examined every piece of evidence. The preserved DNA sample became their focus. They turned to genetic genealogy, a revolutionary method linking crime scene DNA to public ancestry databases. It was a long shot, but it offered hope where there had been none. District Attorney Craig Stedman, who'd carried the case for years, championed the effort. The team sent the DNA to a private lab specializing in genetic genealogy. It was a bold move, but the community, and Christie's family, deserved answers. The investigation entered a new era, blending old-fashioned determination with cutting-edge science. The search for Christie's killer was about to break wide open. The DNA was sent to Parabon Nanolabs, where genealogist Cece Moore took the case. She uploaded the profile to GEDmatch, searching for distant relatives. A partial match to a second cousin emerged, a breakthrough. Cece built an extensive family tree, tracing every branch for potential suspects. Investigators narrowed the list to men in the right place and time. The search zeroed in on one man, Raymond Rowe, known locally as DJ Freeze. He lived near Christie, had no criminal record, and was never a suspect. Rowe had blended into the community for years, hiding in plain sight. The evidence pointed to him, but detectives needed a direct DNA sample. The invisible clue was about to reveal its secret. The final step was within reach. With Rowe identified, detectives launched a careful and covert surveillance operation, determined not to let him slip away again after so many years. They watched as he DJ'd at local events, blending into the crowd, waiting for the perfect moment when he might discard something with his DNA. At a school event, Rowe casually tossed away a water bottle and a piece of chewed gum. Detectives, always alert, quickly retrieved them as crucial evidence. The items were immediately sealed and sent straight to the forensic lab for urgent DNA testing. The results were conclusive. The DNA from the bottle and gum matched the crime scene, leaving no doubt about the suspect's identity. After nearly 30 years, the ghost haunting the case finally had a name: Raymond DJ Freeze Rowe. The arrest was swift and shocking, catching Rowe completely off guard in the darkness of night. In June 2018, police took Rowe into custody, ending decades of uncertainty for the community. The community was stunned. The killer had been among them all along, hiding in plain sight. Rowe had played music at their weddings and school dances, celebrating life's milestones while concealing a dark and terrible secret. For the first time, there was a face to the crime, a name and a story behind the mystery. Investigators felt relief and pride. They had kept their promise to Christie's family, never giving up hope. The long, cold years of uncertainty and unanswered questions were finally over. The news rippled through Lancaster, changing how people saw their past and their sense of safety. Justice was finally within reach, and the community could begin to heal. The case that haunted a generation was about to close, bringing long-awaited closure. The truth could no longer be hidden, and justice at last was served. Roe's arrest brought a wave of emotions: relief, grief, and disbelief. For Christie's family, it was the answer they'd waited decades for. The community struggled to reconcile the familiar face with the crime. Faced with irrefutable DNA evidence, Roe pleaded guilty in early 2019. He received life in prison, sparing the family a painful trial. Christie's brother spoke in court, sharing the family's heartbreak and resilience. The case became a landmark for law enforcement, showcasing the power of genetic genealogy. It inspired hope for other cold cases and families still waiting for justice. The file on Christy Mirak's murder could finally be closed. Justice, though delayed, was served. The conviction didn't erase the pain, but it brought closure. Lancaster could finally breathe, knowing the killer was behind bars. Christie's family began to heal, focusing on her life, not her death. The case became a symbol of perseverance and the power of science. It inspired law enforcement nationwide to revisit cold cases. Christie's story proved that even the coldest cases can be solved. The work continues. Justice is always worth pursuing. The next breakthrough could be just around the corner.